Today, I'm going to open up my entire portfolio, all the ETFs, my wins, my losses, my mistakes, because what I'm doing right now is going to be the deciding factor whether I'm working for the next 30 years or I do get to retire early at the age of 55. Now, most people aren't going to see it and break down portfolios at this level. And honestly, that's why so many people stay stuck. I want to walk you through exactly what I own, the percentages that I own it, and why I own this, because of course, there could be some little tweaks or some little changes to your portfolio that could have a huge long-term effect when it comes to the growth of the portfolio. So let's go ahead and get into it. As we see right here, we're looking at M1 Finance. Now, this is where I do a majority of my investing when it comes to my personal brokerage account. I got some links down below for M1 Finance and of course for Robinhood. So if you want to support the channel, if you want to start investing with a portfolio just like I have here, and I want to break down some of the reasons why I chose M1 Finance versus using Robinhood versus using Vanguard and Fidelity. It was the ability to choose a bunch of different ETFs from different houses as we break it down. So as we can see in the portfolio right now, we are sitting at 418,000. So we are coming up on a milestone of $500,000 in the portfolio. I make contributions and I dollar cost average into this portfolio. Every single Monday morning, we're buying on a regular basis. If the market is up, if the market is down, I am dollar cost averaging in the entirety. So current value right now is 418, starting value, and again, we're looking at 1 day, and we can break this out a little bit further, but net cash flow 0, market gain 5,500. So in the course of one single day, we made about $5,500. Not many people, unless you have a larger portfolio, can actually say that, but I want to pull it out. So when we start thinking of investing, let's look at the last month. So we know over the last month, we've seen the market dip considerably. I was buying, we've seen the market increase. I was buying. You can see in the last 30 days or the last month, we're up around 11.43%, which is around $42,000 in this portfolio. So a really big rebound. Now, when we even pan out further, going out to 3 months, you can see we're at 20 grand. So when we start looking again at a larger picture with the contributions and also the market that pulled back, you can see even right here had a pretty good pullback right here all the way to 360 before we seen it catapult over the last week. Even year to date, again, just a little bit further, about 7.46%, 26,000 on the year. And then scoping out even a little bit further to the last 12 months, we are up $63,000 or roughly 30% in the portfolio. And this is why I wanted to share it with you guys. The portfolio has been doing incredible. And the one thing that I focus on in really building a portfolio is looking at being able to actually beat the S&P 500. Now, that is our foundation. That is kind of the baseline before we get into the ETF specifically, is going to be the VOO. When it comes to ETFs, it is the largest holding that I have, and this is going to vary. And the reason why it's going to vary what you're holding is 1, your risk tolerance, 2, your age. If you're an individual that's 18, 20, 25, even 30, it's going to look a lot different. There's going to be a lot more risk when it comes to a portfolio versus somebody who's, late 40s, 50s, even 60s when it comes to building this out. But I want to break it down because they also do something really, really cool, which is actually a benchmarking that you can do within your portfolio itself. Again, something I want to break down. So looking at the current performance, and this is in the last 12 months, current value again at that 418, you can see net cash flow 211, market gain around $60,000. Dividends were $2,600. So this is not really focused in a huge part of dividends. I am still focusing this portfolio in its entirety on growth. That is exactly what I'm looking and thinking, even the runway. And I just kind of peg the age of 65 when we talk about retirement, even though it's not technically full retirement age. For as long as I remember, 65 was always the age. When we look at 65, I have roughly 20 years until retirement. So I still have a long time to compound the money that we have in here. And of course, this isn't my 401k, it isn't my HSA, it isn't my IRAs. This is just my taxable brokerage account, which is the reason why I do not want a very high tax bracket, and we are in a high tax bracket, but this is one of the big reasons why I don't want a ton of dividends in the portfolio. I don't want to go 50% in the SCHD and just get taxed like crazy because my wife and I are still working full time. But looking at this money weighted return, 30.43%. So doing pretty well. And this was the benchmark that I was talking about. Now we can benchmark this to the S&P 500, which is exactly what we did. Now, if you remember, I made changes to my portfolio probably about 6 months ago. So when we look at a day, and this is going to be kind of interesting, 1.35 to 1.0. So we are beating out the VOO. Then we look at a week, again, 2.29 versus 1.62. Then we pan out a month, we're at 11.42. VOO is at that 9.71. Even the last 3 months, we're 4.8 versus 3.5. So even in the last 90 days, we're beating out the VOO. And again, this is what we wanted to do with the portfolio. Even looking at year to date, 7.4 versus 4.6. Even though the majority of the portfolio, like I said, foundational, we do hold the VOO, is I wanted to take it and I wanted to get it to a place where we can actually outpace the market itself with a couple ETFs that are kind of strategically built in there and making sure that we can build this in the entirety. Now, when I go back a year, you'll notice that we're at 34, we're at 36 with the VOO. Now, this is because it has been, and it's only been a couple months since we've really been investing and changed up the portfolio quite a bit. When we started this portfolio years ago, I held one ETF and only one ETF. And if you are new to investing, I held the VOO for about 3 years, 3.5 years, before I actually added anything in here. And at that point, I actually added in the QQQM, which I still hold to this day. But then we started adding in a little bit into the SCHD just for a little bit of the value ETF that is built in there. Even though it's a low yield and a pretty low dividend yield, I really treat it as a value or more like a cautionary ETF. But I know with the SCHD, if I'm holding it in a much higher percentage, that is not going to outpace or really outgrow the VOO, which that is exactly what I want to do with this portfolio. So let's break down these ETFs, and I want to show you the percentages that we do have in here. So I own 7 ETFs, or 7 slices, as what they call them in M1 Finance. We have the VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500. We own this at 30%. Like I said, when you make up this in the entire pie, the Vanguard S&P 500 or the VOO is held in the highest percentage. That is going to be the foundation. That is going to be kind of the basis for this. Now, a lot of my videos, I cover these ETFs individually if you want to check them out. But looking at the VOO, again, this is going to be the foundation. Then we look at one other that could be treated as value, could be treated as growth, could also be treated as a foundational ETF, which is the SPMO. Now, this I hold in at 20%, meaning that 50% of my portfolio is roughly going to be that baseline, going to be that foundation. And again, very dependent on where your risk tolerance is, what exactly you're looking for, and where it should be built. Now, of course, the SPMO didn't perform incredibly well at the beginning of this year, but then we've seen a major ramp up. Now, remember with the SPMO specifically, it changes its allocation to the momentum or the stocks within the S&P 500 they think are going to have the most momentum, and it allocates and changes its holdings every 6 months. So this is going to be one, again, sometimes it shifts to a little bit more value. Sometimes it even shifts to a little bit more of the growth side. So it is going to be kind of that foundational if you're willing to take the risk in addition to the VOO, but right there is 50% of the portfolio in the entirety. Then we start getting into the growth. So my baseline growth, and again, kind of thinking bigger picture, is going to be right here with my QQQM. Now, when we start breaking this out, the VOO is up 31%. The QQQM is up 41%. This is where the big growth aspect is going to come. You have the foundational portion of your holdings of your portfolio, and then this is the growth side. So for my growth, right there is 20% in the QQQM. Then I have another 15% broken between some sector-specific or some aggressive ETFs in this portfolio. That is going to be the SMH, which is the VanEck Semiconductor Fund. It is up almost 50%, which is crazy. The QTUM or the Quantum Defiance, it's the Defiance Quantum ETF. This is really looking at cutting edge of quantum computing. So we're covering the semiconductors, we're covering the quantum computer space between these two ETFs. And then the third one we have is the GDE. Now this one focuses on gold and gold futures, so it actually does leverage gold, and it also does hold a lot of tech in here. So again, looking at the combination of these three, that is another 15%, plus the QQQM at 20%, so 35%, the next 35% is going to be focused on growth. Now, when we break it out, growth specifically at a 35%, my allocation at my age, I feel really comfortable with having that, knowing that the VOO, the SPMO, is going to be kind of those foundational ETFs. SPMO giving us some growth in there, so even maybe a little bit more growth. And even if you looked at that, we could say this is 20, 40, 55% into growth. Then we have the underlying SCHD. So right here, we do have it at 15%. As I get closer to retirement, I'm going to be shifting part of this portfolio, and I'm going to shift it intentionally through dollar cost averaging. This is a portfolio, and again, this is the reason why I chose to invest with M1 Finances. When it comes to the portfolio and my allocation, when I make and when I do dollar cost averaging every single week, you'll notice right here that we have 13.7 of 15 for the SCHD. Whatever is the lowest percentage is going to get the allocation when I add money to the portfolio. So portfolios within M1 Finance, you can build them to almost automatically rebalance based on percentages. So I don't have to come in here, don't have to do the buys and sells or anything. My rebalancing that happens in here specifically is made and is altered through my contributions that I make into the portfolio in the entirety. So right here, we're looking at what the last year. So when we go to all, this is going to be up around 116%. Now, when we start looking at the inception of this, so it was September 24th of 2021, which is funny because that is right at my son's birthday. But looking at this, so we are coming up in September 26th, which essentially will be 5 + 1, 6 years. So roughly 5 years of the portfolio. So in the last 5 years, the portfolio is up 116%. That means when you start looking at net cash flow 344, that is what I've added to the portfolio. We have almost $75,000 in, or 74K right there. In the market gains and dividend earned is about 6,300. Again, knowing this is a taxable brokerage account, I do not want big dividends. I don't want to earn a lot of dividends. If it was in my Roth 401k or my Roth IRA, would really make a big difference in the dividends that you pay in there, because of course it's after-tax money. You won't have to pay the dividends. But looking at a portfolio of this nature and knowing it is a brokerage account, we are focusing on the growth and focusing on the growth overall. And when we start looking, and this is again, it tells a little bit of a different story because the VOO is up 116%, as we see right there. Now, the reason is, and you could see this as really the big growth, that is because, like I had said earlier, I held the VOO for a number of years, long before I ever picked up the QQQM, the SCHD, or any of the ETFs that we have in here. Now, one thing to note, with the cash dividend handling, so you'll notice right here, dividend handling is in cash. Now, this, again, for me is by design. So what it does is you can set it up to go in the underlying asset. You can set dividends to go into, so SCHD pays the dividend, it goes right back into the SCHD. You can also choose to have it in cash. You can do a sweep account. There's a lot of different ways you can set up everything here with M1 Finance. So what I do is I have it go into cash. What that does is right here in the top with the cash balance, any dividend that I'm paid, so even looking right here, let's say year to date, I have earned $1,000. That $1,000 goes right back into my cash balance. My cash balance is going to be automatically allocated to the targets that I have here for my percentages. So even though the SCHD might pay me, a 3.7% dividend, we get a dividend from the SCHD based on my allocations, based on my targets. That money might actually be allocated into something like the Van Eck Semiconductor Fund, could also be in a couple other of these other funds, versus going specifically into the SCHD. And again, for me, this is by design. So I can take the dividends that I'm yielding or receiving from the SCHD, putting it back into some of these growth ETFs, allowing them to grow much, much faster. And like I said, with allocations, there's going to be a point where I am going to put a higher percentage in the SCHD. And the reason for this is I am going to get to a point when I retire early that I want some of the portfolio to be able to actually be a supplement for the point of having income out of a portfolio before I get into something like SSI, or getting to the age of collecting Social Security, that I'll have and build multiple income streams, where let's say we get to a point over the next couple years, and even thinking without the compounding, is if I can put in, close to $350,000, which I know for a lot of people is a crazy, crazy amount to be investing. But if I can put that in about every 3 to 5 years, then you couple on the compounding, because right now with this portfolio, I am putting in $1,000 every Monday. So again, looking bigger picture, that is putting $52,000 into this portfolio every single year. That doesn't include the dividends. It doesn't include the compounding. It doesn't include the growth. Doesn't include anything at all except the contributions that I'm making specifically into this portfolio. Now, of course, you can also extrapolate that to where, hey, if I'm putting $1,000 in here every single week, you could put 500 in here. You could put 100. You could put $10. There's going to be a very, very different level of investment where people are really at, depending on your journey. Now, for me, I'm systematically, putting money into a 401k. I put roughly 15% into a 401k. Have a good company match, have some bonuses in there as well. But when we start looking at the 401k, my thought is 401k money is great. It's a great tax benefit if you're getting traditional. Even good if you're doing the Roth. But at this point, we cannot touch that money till 59 and a half. My plan and my allocation is not working till 59 and a half, to where I'm going to need money in an account like this, an individual taxable brokerage account, where I'm going to need money to essentially float between 55, 59 and a half for IRA money, or even looking at 55 and getting to 62 before we can start drawing Social Security at that point. So this is going to be something where I want to get to the point of income generation within a portfolio that I can build and have enough money coming in to pay off all the bills in the entirety. Now, on top of this, one of the big reasons and what I really focus on when it comes to the debt-free journey that we talk about, which is right back on this side, the debt-free journey is the only thing that we have at this point within our lives, within debt that we're carrying itself, is a mortgage, a very, very low. And the reason I don't pay it off, our mortgage is currently at 2.25%. When I look at the allocation, even looking, let's say here in the next week or even last month, so we are up 11.43% in this portfolio in the last 30 days. My mortgage again is at 2.25%. So I made the conscious decision from, financial counseling, investing decision to go ahead and put a lot more money into this. There's going to be a point where the home is paid off. There's going to be a point where we no longer have to make that mortgage payment. Again, thinking of building a portfolio that can replace a majority of your income, especially if your expenses are super, super low. So if you don't have a housing cost or really limited with taxes and insurance, you can really make this work when it comes to a portfolio. And then going in here and being able to build a portfolio like I did. And even if you copy the portfolio, even if you copy the allocations, if you're putting 20 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks in here a month, it's going to go ahead and it will automatically break it out with your buys in here. Again, reallocating based on the percentages that you set in here. And honestly, like I said, if I was much younger, I would probably even take something like the SCHD, probably down to about 5%. If I was in my 20s, maybe even 30s, I'm taking this to about 5%, possibly putting a considerable more into something like the semiconductor funds, or even putting more into those very, very high growth funds that we're seeing maybe a couple more percentage again in some of the aggressive one like quantum computing, or even looking at the semiconductor fund, like I said, or possibly going in. I know some people watching this, and yes, I'm talking to you, Gary, completely drop out of the VOO, not even a thought or really a conscious decision, but instead of doing 30% in the VOO, they put that 30% in the SPMO, treating that SPMO ETF as their baseline, and then building out the growth ETFs, building out everything else in the entirety, but carrying and having a lot more of something that is going to grow or really buy the best ETFs or the best companies that we have within the S&P 500. All right, guys, so I hope you definitely got some value out of this video. Now, if you did, definitely subscribe to the channel. I cover this on a regular basis, making sure you're well aware. If you have questions, leave them down in the comments. I will answer every question that comes through from these videos. And of course, guys, like the video, share it out there, check out the portfolio, and give me your feedback. I am not I'm not a financial advisor. I am not licensed. I don't do this professionally, but I have been in the financial industry for roughly 20 years now. So I've worked with a crazy amount of financial advisors through banks, through credit unions, and always had a huge interest when it came to investing in general. So again, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.